The sun is shining in the sky, hardly a cloud in sight, and we are going to have a fantastic race here today.
Drivers, start your engine!
Cause we want retribution. Yeah, we want retribution.
But coming to the green, you're getting cleaned out real well. Pace car's off, kick some ass.
There's the green flag and we're underway.
Green, 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 green. Outside, still there at your door. Good job, man. Nice and solid. Take care of yourself.
Three wide.
Here, Hawkins into the wall.
Oh, big trouble!
Crash in the back. Oh, there's a crash in the back.
Trouble.
Great job, doing awesome, buddy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to race number 14 on the WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series circuit. We find ourselves outside of the States once again. We're here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the first time since 2023. And my, oh my, that race for sure was a little bit of a doozy. Obviously, it was very caution-free. Not a whole lot happened in that race, but 3 years ago, it was Tanner Parton who went to victory lane in that event. And here we are 3 years later. Tanner Parton is back. And of course, still within the points conversation, as we're going to talk about a little bit later on here in the broadcast. But man, ladies and gentlemen, if you weren't with us just about 3 weeks ago, we were at the Michigan International Speedway, and it was Abby Walker carrying the Greg Biffle paint scheme to victory lane at MIS in a very thrilling finish to the event. Managed to make a last lap pass on Skylar Taylor, the driver that Walker finished second to at Minnesota Motorsports Park. And that was enough to secure Walker Family Motorsports' second win of the season here in the NOS Energy Cup Series. Of course, Wyatt Walker won back in March at Auto Club Speedway. So definitely a good amount of momentum that the team is riding on heading into the month of July. We've got quite a few races here that are scheduled. Of course, next week we'll be at the Nashville Super Speedway back in the States, and then we'll be at the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in 2 weeks' time. But before we get to those races, we got to focus here on Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. One other thing that is taking place, and it actually is happening, is we have another debut here in the NOS Energy Cup Series. For a while, you may have noticed that Eric Blaze has been driving the number 26 throughout the entire 2026 season. Well, Russell Blaze had made the call that, it's time that he gives some other drivers a shot behind the wheel of that race car. And the driver that he had chosen was Joshua Neely, driving the number 26 this weekend, making his NOS Energy Cup Series debut in the Bass Pro Shops colors. Of course, Neely got his first Xfinity Series win back in February at Minnesota. And Neely actually performing pretty consistent in the point standings, and that was enough for Russell Blaze to pick up the phone and call Joshua Neely and say, hey, why don't you come drive my NOS Energy Cup car for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park? And who knows, if we see this number 26 maybe finish top 10, you never know. Russell may give him another opportunity, maybe say at the Nashville Super Speedway next weekend, or maybe in a couple weeks' time. You never quite know, but with that said, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our point standings coming into this race here at Canadian Tire. Andrew Miller grabs the points lead away from Russell Blaze by 11 points, with 315 points to Miller's credit. Russell Blaze with 304. Then Avery Alford moves up to third with 299. Tanner Parton with 288. And Eric Monaco with 286. He completes your top five. But Death Rider Racing, so far, two of their cars inside of the top 10. We scroll over to the next page. Terry Walker just outside of the top 10 with 246. CG Hall picking up a lot of momentum. I think this is the best that he has done all year since 2023 in his rookie season. He is up to 12th with 245. Bobby McGuire doing pretty well himself, gaining a little bit of momentum back on his side with 244. And then we go over to the next page. So you see Abby Walker, our winner from Michigan just a few weeks ago, up to the 24th spot after that victory, managing to pick up at least 7 or 8 spots in the point standings, getting yourself back inside of the top 25. Wyatt Walker, we mentioned a little bit ago, of course, struggling, but we scroll over here to the last page. There you see drivers like Nathan Stapleton, Zachary Taylor, Kyle Craven, our defending champions, still on this massive, massive slump. Janiah Hill, after Michigan, fell back to second to last, and Roberto Crown Jr., unfortunately, just not having that type of season. Currently 36th in the point standing still with 143. But my goodness gracious, the point standings are definitely going to be looking a little bit different, obviously, after tonight's action. But you can definitely see that Michigan, of course, was as unpredictable as could be. And who knows, we could see that here for tonight. Speaking of qualifying, we wound up canceling that. So our starting lineup was set via points, and that gives Andrew Miller, the points leader, the pole position, with Russell Blaze lining up alongside Avery Alford, Tanner Parton in row number 2, with Eric Monaco, Stephen Walker in the 3rd row, Emily Anderson, Aaron Abel in row number 4, Noah Clifton and Skylar Taylor round out your top 10. We take a look over on the next page here, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, some drivers that are up there in the point standings. I mean, again, the starting lineup was set via points, so you never know. Road courses kind of set the tone for the starting lineup. And usually whenever there's drivers that do start up at the front of the field, they tend to kind of obviously sort of dominate the race, if you will. But regardless of that here, folks, we are getting the party started, getting ready to get this party started and ready to go from here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We're gonna scroll on over to the next page here in just a moment as see Alex Bonsignor 30th on the board, last race winner, Abby Walker 24th, and then there you see all the drivers that are part-time that are taking part in this race. Joshua Cornish, who competed in the Hoosier Summer Tour on Thursday, last night at Jukasa Motor Speedway. Joshua Neely making his debut. Nikki Fox, this is a home race for her. Michael DeFeo starting in the 40th position, and then you got a provisional starters of Jordan Sumner in the 89 and Bruno Diacomo in the 90, who is also pretty busy himself racing in the Hoosier Summer Tour back on Thursday, and then just last night wound up racing over at Jukasa Motor Speedway. But ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Actually, I went a little bit too far ahead, but you know what? It wouldn't be a live race without sort of difficulties like that. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here at MoSport for the first time in 3 years. This is going to be pretty interesting. So with that said, the drivers are strapped into their cars. Pre-race ceremonies are wrapping up. Let's go trackside to get the command to fire the engines from here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Drivers, start your engines!
As the engines fire, pace car rolls off, and so will these 42 competitors. Over on the Twitch side, want to say thank you to Phoenix for that 7-stream streak. Hopefully you're having yourself a fantastic weekend. And as to everybody else that is currently watching over on Twitch, so glad that you could be here with us for some WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series racing. And if this is your first exposure to WRLA, welcome, and hopefully you like what you see, because we're getting ready for 51 laps of action here at this absolutely historic and quite in more ways than one amazing road course. And I do want to give a little warning. There was a little bit of frame droppage there, so I do apologize in advance if the graphics on some of these cars do go a little bit haywire. This is a 23-year-old game, so that is sort of bound to happen. So just want to give that heads up. They worked their way up the hill underneath the Continental Tire bridge. and right back down the hill. And as these drivers reach the furthest point away from the start-finish line, they reach probably what's going to be the most treacherous part of the racetrack. Up the hill, very short straight. You have to get on the brakes here, and then it's a sharp right-hand corner onto, I believe they call this the Mario Andretti straightaway. Somebody will have to correct me on this one. Underneath the Bridgestone Bridge, no pun intended. But this is going to be one fun race here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And any incidents, I do want to add this on, any incidents that do happen, we will review those at the end of the race. Obviously, the only reason we're doing that is because since this is a road course, caution flags are not enforced. So again, any incidents that do take place on the racetrack, we will review those at the end of the event. Field comes uphill underneath the Canadian Tire Bridge. Lots of bridges around here at MoSport, and they're going to make their way through the S's, and as they do, they reach closer to the start-finish line. You got Andrew Miller and Russell Blaze on the front row. Blaze coming off of a victory earlier today at the Chicagoland Speedway for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. He lines up on the outside of the on the left side of the front row. Pace car is off. Miller and Blaze, they come off the final corner. Green flag is going to fly, and we're underway here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Miller gets a good jump on that start. He breaks away with the race lead. You got Avery Alford on the right-hand side trying to get by Russell Blaze, but he's going to have company in Tanner Parton on the right-hand side. Remember, Parton won this race just 3 years ago when we ran here, and he's looking to try to repeat here tonight. He gets by Alford for the third position, and here we go at full speed. Let's see how these drivers take this corner. Man, you just hear the rapid gear changes on these drivers as they try to get back down to first gear as they come off of the sharp right-hand corner and head up the hill for the first time at full speed. Andrew Miller loving what he sees in his rearview mirror as he pulls out to what looks to be almost a second advantage as Blaze and Alford continue to fight it out for the second position. They work their way through the S's for the first time at full speed off the final corner for Andrew Miller. He's going to lead the first lap of action here tonight. Andrew Miller looking to try to get his second win of the season. He won just a couple of months ago at the Iowa Speedway, and we already have one car that has a massive amount of damage, and big crash on the front straightaway. See Joshua Neely, whoa, up there. I think he might have missed all that carnage, but I saw Zachary Taylor. Ooh, Bonsignor getting a little bit sideways. Jerry Rose was another driver that was around, and both of the Racing Motorsports cars, lots of damage to those machines. Again, we will review what happened to those cars at race end. But Alford takes over that second position. Then in third is Russell Blaze. Fight for fourth is on as Blaze's teammate Stephen Walker. He'll be moving over to Walker Family Motorsports in 2027. As CG Halt will be coming over here to this car next year. But Walker to the right-hand side of Tanner Parton. Now Parton with the advantage on this left-hander, but the advantage goes right back to the 24 on the final right-hand corner. And right at the stripe, looks like Walker's going to get that fourth spot over Tanner Parton. So running in the sixth position, you also have Eric Monaco. Seventh is Emily Anderson. Noah Clifton currently scored in eighth. There's Terry Walker running in the ninth spot, and Bobby McGuire rounding out your top 10 in the number 18 machine. McGuire definitely getting a little bit more momentum back on his side. Started off the year strong with a top 5 in the Daytona 500. Kind of fell off a little bit. Got that momentum back, and then just kind of lost ground yet again. But it looks like He's turned it around. Looks like maybe a third or fourth wind out of the 18 machine. And for McGuire Motorsports, the future of this team is rather unknown as of right now as to whether or not if they will be returning for 2027. But we'll definitely know more once that news gets passed along. But in the meantime, fight for 10th is on. Quentin Moore on the right-hand side of the 18 Interstate Batteries machine of McGuire. They almost touch going through the S's, but it looks like McGuire's going to have to give up that spot to Quentin Moore in the 04. Back down on the right-hand corner. Back to the start-finish line on the front straightaway. 4 laps complete. And another car. Lots of damage. Looks like that's Roberto Crown Jr. He's making his way back out onto the racetrack. So any sort of incidents that wound up taking place will be reviewed at race end. I'll probably be saying that over and over again. Oh, Zachary okay. 3 cars stopped on the front straightaway. I would assume that okay. That was interesting. But DeFeo and Zachary Taylor, they get their cars refired. And what in the world? Alex Bonsignor just Tokyo drifting off the final corner. He has even more damage than what he had previously. Jerry Rose driving through the grass. But the race leader, Andrew Miller, is coming up on these guys, especially Jerry Rose. I would have to hope and pray that Rose makes it to pit road, and thank God he does. So we won't have to worry about the 00 of Jerry Rose. There's Alex Bonsignor just up ahead, who missed the pit entry. So he's going to have to go all the way back around to get to his pit stall. So far, the top 4, the top 3 have all sort of gotten a little bit more strung out. There's Eric Monaco in the 31, right behind the 07 of Tanner Parton. This could be the fight for the 5th position. If Monaco could potentially make something happen, maybe at the furthest part of the racetrack, probably the toughest part of the track. Take a look back through the field. There's CG Halt in the 17. Remember, he's going over to Death Rider Racing in 2027. The 17 is going with him. All the other sponsorships that he has on this car will follow. But here he is driving the IHOP colors. Last race out at Michigan, he drove the Skittles car. And now he drives the IHOP machine for the first time this season. There's Rogel Dorn in the 86. Looks like he just got around Andrew Ramsey for position. There's Claire Phillips in the 5. And also Zachary Fitzwater. And again, Bonsignor completely stopped on the front straightaway in the white and blue machine. That's definitely pretty dangerous, given the fact that obviously we're not running caution. So there's these drivers really, although I would have to imagine that they are getting some form of warning, you'd have to wonder just exactly what's going through the minds of some of these drivers, especially given that again, no cautions, and some of these corners that they're going into are almost completely blind when you're coming off, because you have absolutely no idea what you're going to see when you turn the corner. But the only good thing about that is that Bonsignor was well away from the racing line, but that doesn't mean that he was off the racing surface. On the front straightaway, it is a little bit hard to avoid the racing surface when you're quite literally on it. Further up ahead, Sam Vitale and CG Halt fighting for the 12th position. Coming off the final corner. Looks like Sam Vitale is going to get it across the stripe. Another car stopped on the front stretch. That's Zachary Taylor. And Taylor and Bonsignor specifically have just been absolutely struggling, just missing the pit entry. See a little bit of damage to the 7 of Janiyah Hill in car number 7. She started 35th in this race and has moved up 2 spots up into the 33rd position. as of right now, and Zachary Taylor looks like he's going to have to, again, limp that car all the way back around, and Bonsignor will have to do the exact same thing. Man, you know, at some point, there comes a time when these drivers will have to eventually get disqualified for that, because that is absolutely completely dangerous. See on the board, we already have 3 retirees here in this event. Obviously, the Racing Motorsports cars of Skylar Taylor, 41st, and Aaron Abel, the team owner, 42nd. Our winner from Chicagoland back last month in June. And also Michael DeFeo in the 60 machine, slotted in 39th. Bruno Diacomo is still on pit road, now 4 laps down. 7 laps are complete. Andrew Miller has led every lap since the drop of the green flag for those that are just now tuning in. And if you are a fan of Death Rider Racing, let's go ahead and run through the field for you. Russell Blaze currently running in the 3rd position. Stephen Walker currently running in 4th. Kyle Craven, our defending champion, currently running 31st, and Joshua Neely making his NOS Energy Cup Series debut, currently running in 34th right now. So a little bit of damage to the left-hand side of that car, but still running pretty decently, I'd say, for Neely, as he's going to try to work his way around Janiyah Hill, maybe coming up on this little hairpin turn. Oh, Neely got a little bit squirrely there on corner exit. That's going to allow Hill to pull away. But Joshua Neely, as of right now, so far, I'd say doing a very good job in his debut in the Cup Series, just keeping that car in one piece. Again, still a little bit of damage on the driver's side door of his car, but I'd say no harm, no foul. That's usually what's bound to happen, especially on these road course races. Obviously, bumping and banging and contact is going to happen. But that's just racing. Diacomo back out on the racetrack, now 5 laps down. Or make that 3, but it's going to be 4 once Miller crosses the start-finish line this time around. Zachary Taylor has now taken his car back behind the wall, as Blaze still in 3rd, trying to, at least he's going to figure out a way to get by this number 90. Unless if Diacomo is just going to sit right where he's at right now. But that and all in all, in doing that, that has allowed Avery Alford to check out from Blaze by at least 7/10 of a second. The race leader, Andrew Miller, is still out front by now 1.5 seconds. Pit stops will be coming up. I would have to assume they're going to be right around the 1/3 mark or even the halfway mark of this race, which should be right around lap 25 to 26. And if that happens, I mean, who knows? We could see some pit strategy really play a huge factor in what this top 10 is going to look like after our first round of green flag pit stops. For all we know, somebody in the middle of the pack could come out with the race lead. So, or either that or Andrew Miller's team might have the strategy in tow. Remember, Andrew Miller comes into this race as the points leader and already has a win under his belt. He's looking to try to add a 2nd win to his season. And there you see the tire marks. I do believe somebody definitely got spun off the S's and right into one of the concrete barriers off the racing surface. So we'll definitely take a look at that once the race is official. With 10 laps complete, 1.4 seconds so far is the difference between Miller and Alford. Blaze still in 3rd. Walker 4th, and Tanner Parton completes your top 5. Then in 6th is still Eric Monaco. Emily Anderson still running in the 7th position. And then you got Noah Clifton in 8th. Quentin Moore in 9th. And then Bobby McGuire continues to round out your top 10. He did lose out on the top 10 earlier in the race, but managed to get it back together. And looks like he has muscled his way around Terry Walker in the number 48 machine. He drove the M&M Caramel, the M&M's Caramel colors just 3 weeks ago at Michigan, and actually took home a top 5 out of it, or at least a top 10. So Walker Family Motorsports definitely had themselves a very great run at Michigan just a few weeks ago, with Abby Walker taking the checkered flag as the race winner. And Terry Walker, I do believe, finished top 10. CG Holt finished inside of the top. I would have to believe also finished inside of the top 10. But Wyatt Walker just unfortunately did not have the momentum on his side. But another thing to also add on here as well is you kind of see exactly where Walker Family Motorsports stacks up here. Speaking of, we might as well go ahead and take a rundown here. If you are a Walker Family Motorsports fan, you see Terry currently running in 11th. CG Holt is running in the 14th position. And then a little bit further back, you got Wyatt Walker sitting in the 26th spot, and 4 spots ahead of him is Abby Walker, our winner from last race out, sitting in 22nd. So far, though, everybody has now gotten themselves into a good, I'd say a good clean green flag run, at least for the time being. And it looks like we might have ourselves a fight for the 24th spot. Maybe not so much Wyatt Walker. We were just talking about him a little bit ago. He now picks up a position on Travis Crampton. So he moves himself up into the 25th position. So Crampton falls back just a little bit. And then further back, you got Joshua Cornish in the 8 machine. He, along with Wyatt Walker, just came from Dells Raceway Park, located out in Wisconsin, from the Hoosier Summer Tour race. That definitely was a pretty topsy-turvy race at that. Max Anderson saw the checkered flag over there. Another car stopped on the front stretch. That is Rogel Dorn in the 86 machine. I would have to believe he must have missed the pit entry, so we will have to add that to the counter of drivers that missed pit road. If you if anybody noticed on the top right-hand corner of the screen, as we were looking at Rogel Dorn trying to getting his car refired, Janiah Hill absolutely went into the, oh no, race leader Andrew Miller. No, he carried too much speed trying to get slowed down, and we just saw that live. Oh my God. No freaking way. Our race lead, what is happening here? Everybody just stopping. I would have to imagine everybody just missed their pit stall. What is going on? What is going on? Guys. I'm very confused with what just happened here, folks, because I would have to assume that the track wasn't coded correctly for the AI to try to get into their pit stalls, but okay. All right. Avery Alford, regardless, or now Russell Blais, excuse me, he is going to be the race leader after all of that. I guess he somehow managed to grab the lead out of that. That was interesting. very, very interesting of how the drivers are just constantly missing the pit entry. Either that or they think that they're on pit road and they kind of just act like it. But, okay, coming up to 1/3 of the way through this race in another 3 laps time. The moment, or actually, that's, I stand corrected, Skep Silver is the leader, and the only other driver that made it onto pit road safely is Nathan Stapleton. Alfred makes it into, Tanner Parton is around. I'm so confused with what's happening here. I'm very confused. Blaze again. Emily Anderson rocketing around the outside. Tanner Parton, Monaco, all these guys think that they're on pit road, but I guess they're not. Okay. You know, when I first tested, I genuinely thought that we were going to have ourselves a great race. I genuinely did not think that this was going to be a huge problem. Obviously, this is a huge error on my end. I only chose this version of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park because it was definitely the most modern. And as you see, Travis Crampton and Stephen Walker make contact, but it looks like all the other drivers that missed pit road, they're going to have to go all the way back around yet again to try to get into the pits. But Skep Silver is the leader of the race still. And another car that has a lot of damage. That's Claire Phillips in the 5. Gonna try to keep it off the racing surface. You're gonna just take evasive action through the grass and hope to God that she does make it to pit road. She's not going too fast to where she would miss it, and she makes it onto pit road safely. But now the question is, can everybody else get onto pit road? Russell, you gonna get on pit road, man? I guess not. He must think that he's still on pit road. Okay, so he is now going slow on the front straightaway. And Tanner Parton misses it. Ryan Davis is gonna get on pit road just fine. Stephen Walker thinks he's on it. Looks like CG Halt with a little bit of passenger side damage. But Ryan Davis, he will make his pit service, get his pit service in. And in all of that, this is going to... I should have picked 2013. I should have picked the 2013 version of this racetrack because that's the only other version that I know that doesn't see issues like this. Looks like Jerry Rose must think he's on pit road. Emily Anderson currently is the race leader, as she's going to stay out on the track, or quote unquote, unless if you are drivers like Rose, Stephen Walker, or even Russell Blaze, who must have thought that they were still on pit road, and I believe Blaze just ran it out of gas. That the engine had, I mean, you just heard it right there. Absolute silence. Tanner Parton must have ran it out of gas too. He is coasting. He is coasting down the hill. So just about every driver that missed the pit road at least 3 times, yeah, they ran out of gas. So unfortunately, they will have to teleport back to pit road, and that's how they're going to get their pit service done. And that's going to absolutely throw a huge monkey wrench into this race. And to be quite honest, the chat on the Twitch side, there's a question in my chat saying, "The hell is this?" Absolute. This is just. This is you might as well throw circus music into this damn show, because this is absolutely unbelievable, because I genuinely did not think that this would happen. And even so, I didn't think that this would be a huge deal, but turns out whoever coded this racetrack, they definitely did a horrible job coding how the drivers get into their pit stalls. So very unfortunate there. I mean, other than that, the racing aspect is still relatively solid. But Emily Anderson assumes the race lead regardless as we focus back in 1/3 of the way through the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the Castrol GTX Grand Prix. And do you want to confirm that I did do testing? I just want to confirm that I did do testing. But now let's see. Anderson gonna keep it on the racetrack. Definitely a very interesting call there. And after all of that, this moves Terry Walker up into the top 5, into the 3rd position. Alex Sanvitali not too far back in 4th, and then completing your top 5, that would be Andrew Ramsey. Mercedes Davis. She fell down to 20th in the points standings, but right now she's having herself a good run so far in the 6th position. 7th is Sebastian Vaughn. Joshua Cornish, car 8, currently P8. Wyatt Walker having a great run here tonight. He picked up his 3rd consecutive top 10 at Dells Raceway Park in the Hoosier Summer Tour last Thursday. And then last night, competed in the truck race at Jukasa Motor Speedway. Finished top 10 there and came over here to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So far, running in the 9th position, and hometown driver Nikki Fox rounding out your top 10. Another car slow on the hill, that's Jerry Rose. Another driver who ran that car out of gas, unfortunately completely blowing the pit entry. And how about Nathan Stapleton in the 97 carrying the AMS Oil colors? Debuting those here for this weekend. Started towards the back of the field, obviously with the starting lineup being set via points, with qualifying being canceled. But right now, currently running inside of the top 15, 12th behind Trinity Anderson. So Stapleton doing a very nice job in these brand new colors. Another car in the pit lane, that would be, oh, that's CG Halt in the 17. I do believe he must have been another driver that, he must have been one of those that missed the pit entry. See, Parton and Blaze finally get service done to their cars, and they're getting ready to get back out onto the racetrack. And they will unfortunately be several laps down. Abby Walker has taken his car, oh no, crash down the hill. Vaughn and also Bruno Diacomo got together there as they came down the hill. Oh my goodness. Lots of damage to Diacomo. And we have more retirees to add onto the plate. Oh my goodness, a lot of them. We have a lot more. Very unfortunate stuff here. I see Ryan Little. Obviously, we saw Andrew Miller go out of the race. Quentin Moore, Bobby McGuire, Noah Clifton, Zachary Fitzwater, Roberto Crown Jr., Alex Bonsignor, Zachary Taylor. Man, that is so unfortunate. Abby Walker just added her name to that list, unfortunately. You see Russell Blaze rocket on by. We now have 27, make that 26 cars left on the racetrack. Shoot, we might as well make this the Canadian Tire Demolition Derby, if anything. But Anderson, Emily Anderson in the number 6, still in control of this event. And she currently has a 4-second advantage over Eric Monaco, still running in 2nd. But now the question, the question that I have is now at this rate, when are these drivers that are currently inside of the top 10 going to pit? Are they going to pit right around the halfway mark? And if so, what are those pit stops going to look like? Diacomo is going to make it to pit road safely. CG Halt is back out on track. Diacomo is now out, as well as Val Moscow. So bring that to total of cars down to 24. Absolutely kind kind of ridiculous, if I may say. Honestly, very ridiculous. This is almost like Texas World all over again. Obviously, with the pit entry, with the pit road kind of being a little bit wonky, and with the crashes that we've seen. I mean, obviously, most like the crashes on track are not necessarily a bad thing. It's the wrecks, it's the stuff that we're seeing on pit road that is a bit of a different story. Because when these drivers, when they make that little dive as if they're trying to get to pit road, they actually miss the pit entry. So they're on the opposite side of the pit wall, and in turn, the AI thinks that the cars are on pit road. So when that happens, they drive through that patch of grass on the final corner, and they kind of just go at pit road speed in the middle of the front straightaway, and then obviously just, you know, completely just, you know, they hit that wall. They kind of turn into the wall as if they're turning into their pit stalls, as if they're going to get pit service done. And that obviously kind of just, it kills the momentum of everybody else. And it obviously kind of just kills the vibe of the race. But that's honestly very unfortunate. And I'm very disappointed, obviously, kind of in myself, of course, for choosing this version of MoSport, but also disappointed in the developer of the track that obviously should have had better judgment and should have had, you know, obviously tested the cars pitting, or at least the pit stops, and should have watched that a little bit more carefully. So that's the end of the rant right there. Over on the Twitch side, we want to say thank you for the 5-stream streak to Andrew. Hopefully you're having yourself a fantastic weekend. And I do also want to say, besides that, what we're seeing at MoSport is actually the racing product itself is actually not that bad. $23 now laps complete. And we're almost nearing the halfway mark of the Castrol GTX Grand Prix. Emily Anderson leading the charge by now 3.7 seconds over Eric Monaco. Monaco's starting to eat into that lead just a little bit more. Then in third is still Terry Walker. Sam Vitale 3 seconds back from Terry Walker. This is Russell Blaze's old ride. Small buckle on the hood, but still going. Andrew Ramsey completes your top 5, and then you have Mercedes Davis running in 6th. Sebastian Vaughn, who has had himself in his sophomore season a great turnaround. Obviously performing much better than what he did compared to last year. He finished the season outside of the top 30 in the points standings, and here we are for Vaughn's sophomore season, and he's been doing a fantastic job. Comes into this race 21st in the points standings, so I'd say by comparison to last year, this season definitely clears his rookie season by a full mile. And I would have to believe if you even ask one of the co-owners in Joshua Hart, he would definitely tell you that Vaughn has definitely come into his own here with these NOS Energy Cup cars. So far, Vaughn runs 7th. Cornish still running in 8th. Wyatt Walker riding comfortably in this 9th position. And then you also have the 32 of Nikki Fox still rounding out your top 10. .6 seconds now is the difference as Monaco is starting to chew into that lead just a little bit more. As we are on the halfway mark of the Castrol GTX Grand Prix here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Emily Anderson, for those that are just now tuning in, again, she does lead the way, and we have had, in my honest opinion, probably what was, in my opinion, a really good, really clean race, unfortunately got overshadowed by, yet again, what we saw at Texas World Pit Road. Just unfortunately being coded so poorly. With the AI, of course, being coded so poorly with Pit Road, and you know, obviously, just that's definitely not really all that great, honestly, in my opinion. So, but regardless of that, besides what we saw with the Pit Road shenanigans, this race has been relatively solid in terms of the product of the racing. Let's go ahead and check in with our driver that is making his NOS Energy Cup Series debut in the number 26. That would be Joshua Neely. Now, for those that have been following the NOS Energy Cup Series and is wondering, hey, where's Eric Blaze? He's normally the guy behind the wheel of the number 26. Well, Russell Blaze made the call to Joshua Neely and said, hey, I want you to drive this car for a couple of races, because Neely, as far as the race for the seat next year, Neely so far, as far as my understanding, is the highest out of the Death Rider racing cars in the Xfinity Series points standings, and that's what got Joshua Neely the opportunity behind the wheel of this car. And who knows, if things go accordingly. Oh, and I believe, unfortunately, he's one of those drivers. Oh no, it's starting again. It is starting again. Wyatt Walker with a lot of oh my God. Wyatt Walker with a lot of damage to this car, and it is junk. Junk, and unfortunately out of the race. That you can definitely hear the frustration in my voice. That I'm absolutely frustrated by that. But that is a tough break for Wyatt Walker, who was doing so good, riding in the 9th position. Obviously, you saw several other drivers definitely have their issues trying to get into pit lane. You saw Neely was one of those. So I hate to say it, but all these drivers that missed pit lane, well, they're going to be out of fuel. And Terry Walker, well, this is interesting. Terry Walker being shown as the lead. Oh, okay. Well, Nathan Stapleton's going to rocket around everybody else. Rogel Dorn almost rear-ending Andrew Ramsey as they're quote-unquote making pit stops. You know, this was funny with Janiyah Hill doing this, but it really isn't so fun anymore. Oh no, Emily Anderson and Eric Monaco. Lots of damage to their cars. They were doing so good in this race. Jeez, oh Pete's. And Kyle Craven, who has scored top 10 in this event, unfortunately, he is going to be out of it. Oh my goodness gracious. Emily Anderson now takes her car behind the wall, as well as Eric Monaco. And once again, Joshua Neely into the wall, or in pit lane. Cornish looks like he's going to be out of it as well. This is kind of just, at this point, it is Texas World Part 2, survival of the fittest, as it once was over there. And CG Holt, lots of damage to this car. He is going to be out of it, as well as Alex Sanvitali. Now Nathan Stapleton's having the issue. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think with the fact that we've got so many incidents that just took place, even Terry Walker's going to be out, and Avery Alford. Oh, you know, this is actually very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And I think ladies and gentlemen, I think with that said, we might as well just go ahead, call it here, because this is just absolutely ridiculous of what we're seeing here. So where everybody is at right now, it is pretty much just going to be official, because this race is essentially just a lost cause at this point, and we might as well just go ahead and put this race down. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, the field is now officially frozen, and Nathan Stapleton, not the way that I would imagine that he would want to win this, but Nathan Stapleton is going to officially break a 6-year winless streak and go to victory lane here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Sebastian Vaughn, he will officially slot himself in second, Trinity Anderson third. Everybody else that pretty much are in the spots that they are at, the field is frozen, so even if these drivers did retire from the race, this is where they will be finishing. Trinity Anderson comes home third, then Terry Walker fourth, Avery Alford rounds out your top five, with Andrew Ramsey finishing in sixth, Travis Crampton in seventh, Mercedes Davis eighth, Kyle Craven ninth, Emily Anderson rounding out your top 10. Then you got Sam Vitale, Monaco, Joshua Neely, Cornish, Fox, Davis, Walker, Dorn, and Wyatt Walker in car 19, finishing P19. Janiah Hill rounding out your top 20. And then Skep Silver, Tanner Parton, Russell Blaze, CG Halt, Rose, Moscow, Diacomo, Abby Walker, Phillips, and Subner. That's your top 30. Everybody else from 26 on down went out of the race a little bit earlier on. Ryan Little, Andrew Miller, Quentin Moore, Bobby McGuire, Clifton, Fitzy, Crown, Bonsignor, Taylor, DeFeo, Skylar Taylor, that is, and Aaron Abel, who went out a little bit earlier on in the event. I am honestly very, very disappointed by what we just witnessed here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Definitely not. I would have to say, although I am happy to see that Nathan Stapleton happened to find himself in the right place at the right time to score the win, this is definitely not the way that I would have had Nathan Stapleton, or at least would have seen Stapleton winning. And I'm pretty sure that Stapleton would have to be pretty disappointed with how this race ended and how he got this win, because he would have wanted to see this race go green all the way to the finish. And I'm honestly pretty disappointed with basically the track. It's just the way that the track is kind of coded, unfortunately. And, at the end of the day, you do what you can, and you kind of just pick it up. And we're going to be going back to racing next weekend at the Nashville Super Speedway. That track for sure is going to have better racing than what we just witnessed here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and definitely a much better pit road. The racing aspect here on this course is not bad. It's just the definitely pit road, unfortunately, being the Achilles heel yet again. With unfortunately the pit road, of course, being a little bit wonky, kind of like what we saw at Texas World back in May. So we'll definitely have to be a little bit more careful with which modern tracks we do pick up, or at least the modernized tracks that we do wind up picking up and trying out for ourselves. But ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we do have to end this race. It is pretty much official, but next weekend we will be at the Nashville Super Speedway for the Ally 400, not for the WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series. The Xfinity Series will be returning next Friday as well, and it's definitely going to be a very fun one at that. Definitely a lot better action than what we've just seen here at MoSport, but we'll definitely bring this track back to the schedule, but it is definitely not going to be this version, which was the 2022 version. We're definitely going to stick with the 2013 version for future reference. But congratulations to Nathan Stapleton on getting the victory here. Not the way that he probably would have wanted to win this race, but a win's a win, and you take it and you move on to the next one. But very unfortunate way to end it, but I definitely want to apologize to you guys for what you saw here. Kind of similar-esque, kind of Texas World-esque, if you will. But regardless of that, we'll be moving on over to the Nashville Super Speedway. Guys, if you liked what you saw, which I'm pretty sure that you guys wouldn't have, and I didn't either, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to consider subscribing in order to keep up with all the WRLA content all throughout the 2026 season. And if you're watching this live over on Twitch, be sure to hit the follow button so you don't miss a future stream. And keep an eye on the WRLA Discord for your points once they do come out. But guys, have yourselves a fantastic rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you all next weekend at Nashville Super Speedway. This WRLA telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without any authorized written consent of 11 Broadcasting. WRLA would like to thank all of our loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.